Okay, my felting ladies, I have rinsed it in cream rinse and I didn't rinse out the cream rinse, and now I'm ready to towel dry, but I wanted you to see it before that, then after I towel dry, and then after the whole piece is dried. Now as it dries, the colors in here will become more vibrant, and I have tencel in here that you can't really see at the moment because it's the same color of the wool, but that too will pop a little bit more. These little white pieces, I don't know what they are, but I usually, looks like pieces of soap, I don't know. I usually deal with them once the scarf is dry. But there's two things that I wanted to show you. There are two shrinking concepts going on here, and probably the most critical skill of felting, whether it be Nuno or not, is placement of the wool. Your ability to really control the amount, the coverage, things of that nature. And that takes practice, practice, practice. The second most important thing I think about felting is understanding shrinkage, which makes sense because in felting you shrink. So the two principles that we've been talking about regarding shrinkage are very evident here. One is directional shrinkage. So this shrank north to south, as somebody put it. Now I'm going to use that term. I'm going to plagiarize. North to south. And the reason this is puckering here is because this is shrinking east to west. And so this isn't shrinking north to south while this is, and consequently it puckers it up. So this is shrinking east and west, and this is north and south, and that's what creates this waviness. The other principle that we talked about is what I term adjacency shrinkage, and this was the big aha for me when I discovered it, which led me to be able to make wearables much more easily. And that is the concept that the more narrow the part of your piece, the more it will shrink. The wider the part of your piece, the less it's going to shrink. Now I'm cheating a little bit here because obviously this is going to shrink much more because of directional shrinkage. And this is going to get narrower because it's long. But if you do this for every scarf that you'll make, I think you'll see the same trends. So when this started, the scarf, I measured it from here to the end, so I didn't include these little tips. I started with this being 71 and the width being 37. I'm sorry, yes, correct. It ended up, the north to south measurement ended up being 45 inches. So I took 71, the starting dimensions, subtracted 41 from it, and got 26. So it shrank 26 inches. The percentage, though, I have to divide that by the starting length, which was 71. So I divide 26 by 71, and I get 36.6% shrinkage. Do exactly the same with this measurement. I started at 37. I ended up at 20. I subtract 20 from 37, and I get 17. And I divide 17 by 37, I get 46%. So quite honestly, this may have been partially because this is shrinking more at both ends, and these ends together are wider than this, but it's also what you would see in adjacency shrinking. So if you're not doing this already, when you make something as simple as a scarf, take your starting dimensions and then your ending dimensions, and that will give you a sense as to how things shrink differently. But it also tells you whether or not you've shrunk enough And that is shrunk enough is an opinion that is debated until kingdom come. But for what I do, again, everybody's differently. Mine are generally within this range. I rarely go up to 46%. Very rarely. I'm usually in the high 30s, low 20s, depending, high 30s, low 30s, depending on the place on a garment, whether it be a dress or a coat or a skirt or whatever. So those are just some good things to learn because they're the basis of felting, is the concept of shrinkage and then the placement of the wool, and everything else is pretty simple. Okay, hope you guys made pieces that you liked. I don't know until mine is dry. Oh, one last thing. If you're making a dress, and this is done very frequently, you can imagine that if this is the top of the dress, where your head is right here, so ignore this part up here. If your head was right here, this would be the top of your dress, bodice. And then around the waist of your dress, you start with directional shrinkage. Your dress will be very, very, very flowy. But the pattern of your dress is going to has to consider that these parts of your dress is shrinking differently. But it's just a really easy way to make a flowy dress like this at your waist or at your hip line or right below your hips, without a lot of trouble. So think about the ways that you can use this in your work and have fun with it.